Yokoso wa shitare. Welcome back to yet another story. We've got no preambles or anything I need to say in the beginning, so let's just get right into it. Once upon a time, ima wa mukashi. There was a Kazue no Kami. Now what's a Kazue no Kami? Basically it's a guy who counts all the money for the government. He's not quite a tax collector, but he's somebody who keeps records of finances, makes sure money goes where it's supposed to go, and keeps track of all of that stuff. His name was Otsuki no Itohira. Now it's a bit funny that we're bringing this up because he's not actually a part of this story. The main character of the story is actually his son, a man by the name of Mochisuke. However, he did have the same job as his dad, and because this is ancient Japan, they felt the need to explain who his dad was, as well as who his son was, a man by the name of Tadaomi, and his grandson, the governor of Awaji, Tomochika. Why is this important? To us, not really, but because it's ancient Japan, we just need to know the family history because I guess that's important to these people. But to get to the actual story, when this Mochisuke, this Kazue no Kami, the imperial financier, I don't know if that's the proper way to explain it, but that's what we're going with. When he was a young man, he was a very exceptionally brilliant scholar, an academic of the highest degree. Nobody could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Anyone who could claim to be alive was his inferior when it came to things of finance and numbers in particular, which was great for him. But he had a lot of disgruntled peers, a lot of his co-workers, a lot of people of the same rank as him who were none too happy about this because they were in competition with each other. You have to remember, back in this time in the capital of Heian, everyone was constantly at each other's throats, politically speaking. Politically, socially, so very similar to today, but you could be thrown out and shunned and ostracized if you couldn't make good poetry, and I'm pretty sure most of us can't do that, so be glad you live in this time and not then, when you would get the cold shoulder because you couldn't come up with a rhyme for orange. Anyway, this guy's peers, the other people of his rank group, the other people of the same rank, all began murmuring, talking bad about him behind his back, saying to themselves something to the effect of, what are we even supposed to do about this? If this guy's name actually gets out into the world and spreads even further than it has already, then there's going to be no stopping him. He's going to become the assistant to the head of the department, eventually will become the head of the department, and none of us will ever be able to hope to even hold a candle to him. He'll just take it and run, and all of us will be left in the dust. And we know that because his entire family are just professional financing agents for the government, and they've been doing this for so long. And he is particularly good among all of them. Yeah, he might only be the 6th rank, which isn't that very high of a ranking in the Heian aristocracy, but even only being the 6th rank, his reputation has spread all over. Everybody knows who he is, and everybody has a good opinion of him. And it wouldn't be so bad if he was just smart. But he's smart and just a really good guy to hang out with. Everybody loves him. I find it a little ironic that it specifically says that he has a good personality and his bearing and his actions are always tadashikereba, meaning proper, right, good, and yet they're complaining about him. Oh, sorry. Am I too much of a nice person for you? Does that upset you? I mean, that does happen sometimes, you know. But anyway, suffice it to say that he had some enemies. Not everybody was a huge fan of him, even though he was gifted, competent, really nice, just a swell, good old chap. But one day, at this Mochisuke's house, there was a sign. I don't know exactly what the sign was, but there was some kind of a sign, and though it could be a multiplicity of things, it could be so many different things that I'm not even going to hazard a guess, the people of the house realized that this was some kind of an omen, and so they called a famous, very expert Onmyoji to come, look at this sign, and then interpret it so they would know what it meant. And the Onmyoji came and did just that. But he did not have good news for Mochisuke, and he told them that this was a very, very bad omen. There were going to be a couple of days in the near future where it would behoove Mochisuke to do some mono-imi. I apologize for throwing all these old Japanese words at you, but mono-imi in particular is one that I can't just translate it to an English. If I were to try and put it into one word, I would say mono-imi means something along the lines of purification, because that's partly what it was meant to do. It was meant to purify you from any baleful influences, to get rid of bad luck and things of that nature. But you did it by shutting yourself off from outside involvement, closing the gates to your house, abstaining from unwholesome foods, or rather, only partaking of really pure, strict, usually not very tasty foods, making sure that everything around you is clean. Basically, it's the idea that something bad is going to be coming for you, and you are both defending against it and clearing it out to the best of your ability. So this Onmyoji tells Mochisuke, hey, on these couple of days, you'd best do some mono-imi because some bad things are going to go down. And he wrote the dates down, handed it over to Mochisuke, and then he went on his merry way, probably with a fee or however the Onmyoji got paid, probably in cloth or something like that. And Mochisuke followed the instructions to a T. When the days came, he shut his gate, locked it hard and fast, prepared all the proper food, made sure everything was perfect. But news got around that Mochisuke was now doing some mono-imi. And hearing this, one of Mochisuke's enemies, who goes unnamed in the story, but he decided that now was an opportune time to try to get Mochisuke out of everybody else's hair. Because they did complain that it would be so much better if he was just not here. Wink wink. And so this enemy went and he tracked down an Onmyoji of his own. Except this Onmyoji was not like the one that went to go inform Mochisuke of what the omen at his house was. This was a back alley Onmyoji. This was a sketchy Onmyoji. Specifically, the text uses the word kakure Onmyoji, basically a hidden Onmyoji, meaning somebody on the black market, somebody who hangs out in the shadows. Kakure literally meaning to hide, a hidden Onmyoji. But it also describes this Onmyoji as shirushi arikeru, meaning that he was skilled. He was competent in his craft. But Mochisuke's enemy, we're just going to call him Edgar the enemy. But Edgar came to this Onmyoji and explained the situation, saying that he wanted Mochisuke taken care of and that Mochisuke had suddenly shut his gates and was cut off from any outside interference. And upon telling this Kakure Onmyoji these details, this Onmyoji told the bad guy Edgar, yes, surely he is participating in some mono-imi. There must be some baleful influences over his house right at this time. And now would be the perfect time, when he is already being assaulted by some other unseen ill omen, to go to his house and curse him. So, my good sir, please take me to his house so we can make sure that you and your friends are rid of this pesky influence. However, obviously, now that he is doing some mono-imi, it is very unlikely that he will open the gate to us. But no matter. As long as we can get him within the sound of my voice, I can guarantee you, sir, that I can take care of him for you. And so, with that being said, Edgar the enemy took this Kakure Onmyoji and headed straight for Mochisuke's house. And sure enough, the gate was shut and locked, and Edgar, with the Kakure Onmyoji, hanging out, I think just a little bit off to the side. It doesn't explain exactly where they are in relation to each other. But Edgar goes up to the gate and he knocks on it. Really hard, it says, too. And one of Mochisuke's servants comes to the gate and says, "Who is it that knocks on this gate?" Edgar the enemy has one of his own servants respond, "I have come with news, good sir, for your lord. It is very important and very, very grave, and I must speak with your master directly. Please, open the gate even for just a little bit and allow us in that we may tell him this news." But of course, he did not say what the news actually was. He was just trying to get them to open the gate. Mochisuke's servant clearly wasn't buying this. He didn't know who these people were, and he had strict orders not to open the gate because they're doing mono-imi. And so the servant goes to find his lord, and he explains the situation. "Sir, there's some people at the gate. This is what they're saying. What should we do?" And Mochisuke was just taken aback by this. He was not expecting anybody. Nobody had sent him any letters, and they were doing mono-imi. What could this person possibly have? No. Go back to the gate and tell these guys that this is a completely pointless effort and that they should go home. What kind of strange weirdos would try to get somebody to open a gate when they're clearly under lock? And the servant did just that, went back to the gate and basically told these guys to kindly screw off. But Edgar was not going to be dissuaded so easily. And so instead, he simply pleaded with the servant, well, hold on. Go back to your master and tell him to at least come to the window then, so we can speak face to face. You don't need to open the gate. I just really need to tell him this information. Please, it's of the utmost importance. And even this was not something that most people would do if they were under Monoimi lock and key. But for some reason, something seemed to have possessed Mochisuke. Some people wondered if it was the will of heaven, or that there was some sort of karmic fate that caused Mochisuke to comply, because he went to the window. And upon coming to the window and sticking his face out so he could see Mr. Edgar the enemy, he said, "What do you want?" And at that moment, the Kakure Onmyoji, as soon as he heard Mochisuke ask that question and saw his face, he immediately cursed him, then and there, with a dreadful, terrifying spell. Now, as far as Edgar goes, he actually wasn't expecting Mochisuke to come marching right up to the window like this, and he was taken aback. So when Mochisuke comes to him and says, "What do you want?" he had to stumble for a second, collect his wits. You see, sir, I am actually about to head out into the provinces, into the countryside, and I came by to tell you that. Yeah, to tell you that. And again, Mochisuke just kind of was taken aback by this. He just stared at this guy for a bit like, are you serious, bro? Here you were telling me that you had this super important thing that you wanted me to know, that I needed to know, and that I had to break Monoimi to come figure it out. And that's all you're saying? I don't even know you. What a stupid, foolish man you are. Get out of here. And with that, he shut the window. I mean, it's not really a window. It's a yarido is specifically what it is. It's kind of like a window. For all intents and purposes, it's a window. But he shuts the window and he marches right back in, furious that he ever let himself be distracted by some random weirdo who showed up and was saying a bunch of nonsense. But little did he know that this was no random person. This was somebody who wanted him gone. And unfortunately for Mochisuke, they succeeded. Later that night, Mochisuke's head started hurting really bad. He had this terrible headache. And no matter what he did, it just would not go away. And day by day, it got worse and worse and worse. Until 3 days from this incident, Mochisuke died. The final bit of this story stresses that when you are doing Monoimi, one should not speak loudly or converse with people from the outside. When you are doing Monoimi, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that your voices should be low, things should be quiet. And, again, you should not maintain any sort of interaction with people outside at all. But Mochisuke broke both of those rules. And even though it seems likely that Mochisuke had some sort of karmic fate that led him to his demise, it is said that men in the world who are capable of such terrifying curses are people that should be avoided at all costs. Alright, and that will wrap it up for this story. I've got nothing in the way of commentary, so we will just end it right there. I thank you for your view or your listen, because my idea behind these stories is that it's something to throw on when you're doing laundry or going shopping or something. So thank you again, Ito katejike no koso haberikere. And if you like this story, please give the video a like. If you want to stay in the loop for more stories in the future, please subscribe to the channel. And we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.